Storytelling here with a new friend of mine. Her name is Ashley Smith. She is the co-founder of Minority Outdoor Alliance, a group that helps to facilitate a deeper connection and understanding of the outdoors. Incredibly generous person. I recently shared with her and her charming husband Trampled by Turtles in Atlanta. And I can't wait to see what she shares with all of us tonight. She's a very accomplished speaker. Please come up, Ashley Smith.
I guess that means it's on. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. For it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Yeah. Walk with me to a day in the future and imagine that you're 97 years old. Have you ever thought about what you would be like at 97? Have you ever imagined what that version of you would care about? Have you ever thought about what the 97-year-old version of you, what stories would he or she have to tell? About a month ago, my entire family descended upon Albany, Georgia. It's very South Georgia, to celebrate my grandfather's 95th birthday. Thank you. And it means a lot to me because he's my last living grandparent. And we drove down there and my mom and my aunts put on this huge celebration. It was more of a program because all the members of my family, we got up and we shared stories and reflections of what he meant to us, to our family, to our lineage. And at one point, when it was my turn to get up to talk, my grandfather stood up in the front of a room, in a room about this size actually, of a very large family. And he did this thing that I think only when you're 97 you know how to do. And he did this thing where he was like crying, but laughing, but clapping, but dancing, all at the same time, as he looked out into this room. Like I said, I was next on the program, so as I approached the stage, I stood by him and took in what he was taking in from his vantage point. And I said, oh my God, what is it like to be 95 years old and to be able to look out at a room and to be of able mind and able body? If you talk to him, he thinks he's 65. He is not. He still drives, he still cooks, he still lives by himself, he's always outdoors. And what is it like to look out at a room and not only see your children, but your children's children, and to be able to take in your lineage like that? And that moment has stuck with me. And to give you more context, my father is one of 9 children. And when he was being raised, my grandmother, before my grandmother passed, I was 14 years old, my grandmother passed. And before she passed, she and my grandfather had been married 50 years. And She and my grandfather only had as much of as a 6th grade education because that's what society allowed for them at that point in time. And here they are. They raised these 9 people, 11 people in one household with 1 boy's room, 1 girl's room, and my grandparents' room and 1 bathroom. And they raised that family on love, faith, and appreciation for family, and a goal to just live out the best story you can with what you have. So I thought about that tonight. As we talk about storytelling, I think it's important to talk about story living. How do we live out the fullness of our stories? How do we live out the stories that 97-year-old us would laugh and cry and clap about? What story will you have to tell that will make you laugh and cry and exclaim and rejoice and be in sheer utter awe of what you were able to create? How do you become the best book you've ever read? How do you become the book that you just can't put down? And I think about my grandfather and how the story that he lived was constrained, but when he looked out into that room, he saw his lineage be able to be a little bit more free, to live out a fuller story than he was able to. You see, the nature of humanity is simply this. In everything that we do, we affect one another, whether we mean to or not, because everything in this ever-shrinking world is interactive, interdependent, and interrelated. Meaning that those of us that are alive right now, the story livers that are alive right now, everything that we do impacts the generations that come after us. How we choose to live our stories creates a reality that they have to live their stories in. And in my opinion, America is the best place on earth to live out a story. What better place to live out a story than the land of the free and the home of the brave? And that's what every human spirit truly craves, the freedom to live out the fullness of their stories. And we as Americans, we share an origin point to all of our stories. I know all the silliness of society likes to teach us that we're divided and we're different, but we're more alike than we could ever imagine. And that's why I love being in rooms like this. We share a catalyst point to the unfoldment of all of our stories. And that shared identity line can be found in the founding document of this nation. The preamble to the Constitution says that we, the people, in order to establish a more perfect union, our Constitution gives us the right vocabulary to live out our stories and to answer the questions of the eras of our time. We are union perfectors. That's our shared identity. That's the origin point of our stories, that we get to live out in this freedom and perfect the union in the ways that we're called to do so. And I'm so grateful to be a union perfecter in this time with all of you, to be able to live out my story at a time that we're all living out our stories. I think I speak for all of this room when I say someone like Rachel, your story is so freaking inspiring. Like, to be able to live in a time where a woman can just decide that that's what I want to do, and I'm going to go do it by myself, lest we forget that that wasn't possible not too long ago. So how do we live out our most meaningful stories? We just keep going. The outdoor and conservation community, we get it. And I'm so grateful to have found my people, like Lam was saying earlier. We get it. I'm so grateful to have been welcomed into this space. The personalities in this space, we get it. We know what it means to decide that, like, that's the adventure that sets my soul on fire. So that's what I'm gonna go do. How you were saying earlier, man, why do I want to do this? Because I'll figure out the why when I get there. It sets my soul on fire. It gets me excited. It gets me up in the morning. And what's the point of living if you don't have a story like that? So may we continue to do the things that set our souls on fire. I thought a bit about what Lamb said earlier today about living in a world of what ifs. What if? What if we could be the story livers? What if we could be the union perfectors that bring inclusion and conservation together, that braid that fabric into the story of American history? What if we create a world where there is as many hearts and as many minds involved in conserving our natural resources? What if we could bring back bison? So my hope for everyone is that you continue to live, move, and have your being in that which enthralls you and motivates you and wakes you up in the morning and writes your story. That you continue to live, move, and have your being in that which challenges you and that which changes you. May we all continue to live out the fullness of our stories. May we become people that we can lean on. That song that I started with, it speaks to me because, man, when I'm 97 years old, I want to be looking at my handsome husband and I want to be able to tell our great-great-grandchildren that we became people that we could count on. Who are you if you can't count on yourself? Who are you if you can't keep your promises to yourself? And you get out there in the outdoors and you figure that thing out. Can I count on me? May we become people that others can lean on. May we become people that others can call on. And may we continue to become people, to be people that nature can count on. It is my honor to live out my story with you guys, and thank you for having me.